Yummy. Yummy.
Now, it's time for The Guys Next Door. Brought to you by Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing. With Ron Arenas and Pastor John McClain.
And welcome. This is The Guys Next Door. I am Ron Arenas with my co-host, Pastor John McClain.
Yes,
brought to you by Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another week.
Yeah, another beautiful week.
Yeah.
And the Boston Celtics are now the champions. I'm just kidding.
That's okay. That's okay. You're speaking the truth. With us today, we have a great show lined up for you. And our guest today, let me give you a little bit of a bio for him. He played for Lute Olson at the UofA for basketball, 92 through 96. He was drafted in the second round of the NBA and played in 101 NBA games between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the San Antonio Spurs. He played several years overseas and spent 6 years as a head coach in Japan's Professional Basketball League, and he's currently the Director of Development with the UofA Athletics. Welcome, Reggie Geary.
Hey, Ron, thanks.
Man,
guys,
that's a resume there, brother.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Basketball's been pretty good to me over the years, and
right.
UofA equally has been good to me, so it feels great to be back in the community.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, we love having you here.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you have some Lute Olson stories. Can you tell us something about your recruitment and coming to play for Arizona?
Yeah, I was really fortunate and blessed, to I've grown up in Southern California. I played at Modern Day High School for legendary Gary McKnight there, and had a great experience. And to then be recruited by Coach Olson and the University of Arizona. And keep in mind, Arizona at this time was just as it is now. It was a premier program. They just had incredible athletes. I remember even in high school going to a UCLA Arizona game, and I was actually being recruited by UCLA, and I'm looking on the court, and there's Matt Othick and Matt Muehlbach, Chris Mills, Brian Williams, Sean Rooks. That was just one side. You had Tyus Edney. You just had all these great players. And I kept thinking, man, college is the real deal. And just then a year later, fast forward to be at Arizona playing for a Hall of Fame coach like Lute Olson, it was just so special. And he just was a special man. He for all the stories you heard about him, they're just so true. He was kind of cool hand Luke in terms of never really saw the man sweat, never really saw him. I'm sure there was pressure, but he kind of kept that away from us and made this atmosphere and environment just something that just was great to play for. I know the fans enjoyed it, and I just feel very fortunate for that time.
Interesting. Cool. When I think of Lute Olson, I mean, obviously, like most people in Tucson looked up to, my whole life, saw him as a legend, never really got to interact with him. But when I think of him, I think of what they say about some of the most famous people, that they're some of the nicest people in the whole entire world. They're some of the sweetest, most generous, most giving, kind of caring people. And, I see this with figures in my life. Like, sitting across from us, with Ron Arenas, I and this isn't just me blowing smoke, but I see that with him, where he's just like, no matter where you find him, he in a way is kind of like that cool, I call him the coolest guy in Tucson, because he's nice to everybody. He's generous. I mean, you really, if you were to catch him in a room, you didn't know him, you wouldn't suspect who he was, just because he's just such a humble, down-to-earth guy. I could see Lute Olson having that about him as well. No matter who he spoke with, he was just as sweet to the waiter as he was to the President of the United States.
Yeah, 100%. Coach, he enjoyed being Coach Olson and being around town. And when you're 6'6" and you have that beautiful hair and always great looking,
right.
You kind of command the attention when you walk in. But Coach was always down to earth. Like I say, it was always a good time with Coach. And he presented himself well, and he made sure you presented himself well. And one thing I always like to, and I want to make sure it's not missed. I think one of the secret sauce to Coach Olson, that is, and just in terms of how he treated life and how he treated people, was his wife, Bobby. Bobby Olson played a major factor in his life, just kind of always keeping his feet on the ground, making sure he always prioritizing family being his family, being the team, the community. And I just thought as a team, they were just incredible. But Coach Olson was always nice, always, very generous with people and his time, and he just loved Tucson.
Yeah, he did. He did. So, during your playing time at the UofA, you were a lockdown defender and a 3-time captain. How did that experience translate into coaching later in your career?
Yeah, once again, I had positive experience here. The defensive thing is kind of funny. Coming out of Mater Dei High School, I kind of did a little bit of everything. I was a guy who would get you 20 points and 10 rebounds, 10 steals. I was just kind of all over the place.
Right.
And then when I came to University of Arizona, I looked around and they had a guy named Damon Stoudemire and Khalid Reeves and All-Americans like Chris Mills and Stokes. And so, it was more of just kind of getting where you fit in. I got on the floor. I knew early on, at least in my career, points wasn't going to be something I was going to be relied upon. If I got them, that was great. But I knew everyone liked great passers and great defenders, and so I defended and I passed well. I pride myself in thinking I'm one of the best defenders in U of A history. But I also take a lot of great pride that I'm top 3 in assists and over a career and through a season. And so those two dynamics, you'll find out, young players, if you pass the ball, to guys and you play defense, a lot of coaches and a lot of teammates are going to like you.
Yeah, exactly. So you went from being the king of the hill in high school to, I don't want to say just another guy, but you were on a team full of king of the hill guys.
Yeah, and that's the trap that happens to a lot of guys, the inability to transition, to adjust, to adapt to a new environment. And if you play long enough, it's going to happen to you multiple times. It happened to me going from junior high to high school to college to the NBA, where you find yourself in these positions where you have to prove yourself over and over again. And how your ability to handle that is going to really determine your success. Luckily, just by DNA, I am a team guy. Stats aside, I'm not really too concerned about those. I enjoy winning. I enjoy more importantly, I enjoy competing at a high level. And so just coming in here from Mater Dei, as I mentioned, coming to Arizona was a very familiar situation. Practices were very similar. Chris Mills, who was great, I remember on the first day of practice, looks over and goes, every drill. I'm like, yeah, this is just like high school.
Really?
And so that's why McKnight and Olsen were such good friends. Very similar programs. So my adjustment period was very quick. Where if you ask a guy like Corey Williams, who I know you guys spent some time with recently, Corey will tell you, he was a high. I think he was the first or second team All-American coming to high school. Batavia, Illinois, led Chicago all-time. But he didn't really have that foundation. If you ask him, he'll tell you. At Batavia, we played zone, 2-3 zone for 4 years. So now putting him in a shell drill and asking for these different principles, it took his adjustment a little longer. So I've been really, really blessed in terms of how some of the teaching I had and how that's benefited me with Coach Olsen and afterwards.
Very cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The question that comes to mind, particularly being a defender myself, or just like it's been such this unappreciated art, especially nowadays. Almost 200-point NBA games that we're looking at and stuff like that. What would you advise to people in how to play good defense? Is it just kind of giving the same level of tenacity to your D as you would your O, or is there something that you had? What's your secret sauce to defending? Yeah,
I mean, a lot of it, or not a lot of it, some of it has to do just how you're built. It was in my DNA. I like to compete, like I said. If it's man on me versus you to a degree, I want to win that battle. Being that's a team game and that I had these principles, one of the things that set me aside was I had the ability not only to go my man, but the other, basically the other 5 guys, just through being my spacing and my ability to help. And so just being tenacious, I always laugh. You bring up a great point. Defense is half the game. People forget about that point, that there's actually 2 sides to a court, and defense is one of those. And so I love to hear people having appreciation for it. It is a big part of it. When you look at the separation tonight, NBA championship game tonight, defense is probably going to play a major part in that. Even with the explosion of NBA basketball and freedom of movement and entertainment and people wanting to see those high scores, there's still a place for defense. And I think Drew Holiday is a great example of that. If I was going to part anything with young players today, it'd be the same as before. Play the percentages. If you want to become a great defender, it's not about getting steals. It's not about taking risk and gambling. Staying in front of your man, stopping him with your chest, and when you shoot the basketball, put a hand up. If you do that more times than not, they're going to miss shots, and that's going to give yourself a chance to win. So just be solid in your fundamentals.
Right. Well, they have all those analytics now that they can tell you, if the team's better when you're on the floor or if it's better, without you on the floor. So they run all those numbers. So. And honestly, numbers don't lie.
I could argue with you there a little bit,
Well,
but numbers. There is analytics is a big part of the game.
No, we'll save the arguments for the NIL conversation.
Let's do that. But we always lack his heart and tenacity and that tenaciousness. You really can't find that on the stat sheet or the numbers.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's
and
true.
so, as a coach, and I coached for a long time, you want to look at the analytics, you want to look at the numbers, but at the same time, you want to use your common sense of what you're seeing with your eyes in terms of what works best for your team.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and to the kind of just to the point of just playing, like, just play safe ball. Like, I apply that to my golf game as well. Like, where just like so many times we try to take these risks, but just play it safe. Like you're saying, just stay in front of people, be there, apply pressure. Usually they're going to miss it more than not, rather than trying to get up there and swat the ball up at the apex and hit them in the head, and then they get a free foul. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to talk golf, we can talk golf now.
Well, we're going to do that. I'm going to give you my card. We're going golfing.
Well, we're coming up on the end of this segment. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Tucson Tamale, Crest Insurance, Tucson Pack and Ship, and Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Yeah, and we also want to invite you to go to veteranrescuemission.org. You'll find out more about this show and the other work that we do, as well as the work that we do locating and connecting homeless veterans with housing, which is the foundation of the work that we do. We'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back. We're the guys next door. I'm Ron Arenas with my co-host, Pastor John McClain.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're just having fun.
We are. We're here with our friend Reggie Geary.
Yeah.
And
I'm pretty sure you only hang out with former UofA basketball players. It seems like that's a theme now.
Because they're cool guys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I'm glad you said it.
So, Reggie, after all the years of traveling the world playing basketball and coaching basketball, what brought you back to Tucson?
Man, Tucson has just been such a warm and welcoming place for me and my family. Having left the university in '96 as a player, I played 9 years professionally. I coached 14 additional years after that.
Oh, wow.
And so,
but you're only 29. How does that happen?
Right?
The time machine.
But Tucson was always my off-season home, and so we would, between the 2 months in between seasons, I would always come back here and work out between here and Southern California. And like I say, Tucson is just a warm, welcoming place for us. I tell a lot of the student athletes now that I'm around. Tucson. Now that you're here at the UofA, this is kind of your circle of power to a degree, a circle of influence. That these people recognize you and know your name, and if you take care of your name and get out in the community and do good things, this will always be a place you can come back to. And so that's something I try to stress, not only through my words, but as an example. And so I just got done playing my final year. I was in Kiev in the Ukraine, playing for BC Kiev for a Euro Cup team. And I had my first real injury. And I was thinking, man, it's time for my second career. And we wanted to kind of settle down. And man, Tucson just checked every box. Cost of living, great weather, golf, great people. And so that's how kind of I found myself back here. From then, I interviewed for a few NBA jobs. I thought I had landed one, and unfortunately didn't land it at that time, and said, you know what, I want to pivot, get out of basketball, maybe look and see what my third career is going to be after having played and then coached. And walked into the U of A, saw my man Scott Shake. Said, Scott, I've known you. You've been here 35 years, man. I don't even know, what do you do? And he kind of explained what he did to me, and I thought that's pretty appealing. And it's been a good run. I've been at the university 5 years now.
Okay. And what do you do at the university now?
Yeah, and so I'm a senior director of development in the Wildcat Club. And so the Wildcat Club is the fundraising arm of the athletic department. So our job is to get in the community. Main responsibility is to solicit major gifts. A major gift in university terms is a gift over $50,000 over 5 years. And donor relations, making sure we're having touch points with new and existing donors. And then we do a little bit of men's basketball sales with that. And the reason being, there's a donation associated with that. And it's been a great fit. It allows me to get in the community and get some touch points with people, really sell a story and a philosophy I believe in. College athletics is really going through a big transformation. It's never been perfect. It still isn't perfect, but I still believe in what we're doing there. We're still educating leaders for the future. We still put a great product on for the people of Tucson. And in return, the Tucson community has just been huge in their support, and I just love it. I truly do believe we have the best fans in America.
Yeah, and I thought I had a fun job, but you gotta have a fun job, man. That's cool. Getting support for the U of A and U of A athletics, like, what more could one ask for, particularly kind of the lineage you come from, playing ball here, and, like me, understanding the value of the city and having, your own community among the people that are in this city, having probably a lot of your good friends being in this city. It's super cool job that, your job day to day is to go around and talk about the people that made our amazing university and continue to foster those relationships and bring on new people into that community of people.
Yeah, definitely. You hit it right on the head, and also just educating and thanking our donors and letting them know, man, you really do have an impact. You know, I know sometimes you look at, maybe ticket prices going up, or, having to do a capital campaign with your basketball, and you're scratching your head saying, no, this doesn't really square up. But it does when you look at it philanthropically and realize every dollar that comes in goes to supporting our student athletes, men and women, making sure they have the best resources, not only on the court and in the field, but more importantly in the classroom. Because I was blessed. I got to play professional sports almost 10 years after leaving university, which is a little bit of a rarity. Most student athletes, their last game at the U of A is their last game. A very small percentage go on to play afterwards. And so you still have, God willing, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of your life. The education you're going to get here, the lessons you're going to learn here, the connections you're going to make here. Those are the things that are going to get you through. And I just try to impart that with them when I can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we've had a national powerhouse basketball team since the 80s. How do you feel about this upcoming team for next season?
I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited. Obviously, it's a little bittersweet, just in fact that we're leaving the Pac-12, being a Pac-10 guy.
Right.
That was kind of a sad moment. Obviously, Bill Walton passing away. I bring that up because me and Bill have been friends for the last couple of years while I've done radio with the UofA men's basketball team, and obviously his connection with Luke Walton and him being an athlete. So that was a little bit of the kind of the sad closing of our league. But going into the Big 12, it's murderer's row. It's the toughest basketball conference in the country.
It is.
Luckily for us, we got a guy like Tommy Lloyd at the helm, who understands the assignment. He's gone out and recruited at a high level. He's retained, some of the right players. Getting Caleb Love back is big.
Oh yeah.
Getting guys like KJ Lewis into the program, Jaden Bradley. I can go on and on. Really gives us a fighter's chance. And that's all you can ask for. On most nights. And I know expectations are high here, but they should be. And Tommy has positioned himself where he can kind of combat those challenges and combat that high bar the team has, and hopefully put out a championship level team.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting stepping out of the Pac-12 or what was the Pac-10 and kind of what was kind of viewed by the East or the Central America as just like West basketball, the West, quote unquote, and this is coming from my family that lives in Atlanta. We're all seen as so soft, and not really, of the caliber of ball of the guys out there in the East. But now that we're in the Big 12, I think there's some proving that will be done, and probably and maybe even a strengthening of all the different teams and all the different sports as a happenstance of it. So I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I mean,
I
think that's always been the thing. Going back 50 years, West Coast is soft.
Yeah.
I just think that people in Midwest and down south, back east, they just go to bed before we start playing.
Right, especially if we're playing at 8 o'clock at night our time. It's like 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock their time.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're not going to stay up and watch us.
So yeah, to your point, going into the Big 12 and going head to head versus Houston, versus Baylor, versus Kansas, and the whole country's watching, will give us an opportunity to really show our toughness.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned earlier about radio. How did you get into radio? I know that you call some games with Brian Jeffries. Yeah,
I was really fortunate once again, real lucky that that when I came into the department as an administrator, Brian Jeffries and Joe Moeller and the team over at Learfield pulled me aside and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this?" And I thought about it. Let me think. I can travel with the team. I can sit front row, and I get to work with the voice of the Wildcat, Brian Jeffries.
Right.
It was a no-brainer, and I've been really fortunate to work with Brian. He's a pro's pro. I mean, he does everything: basketball, baseball, you name it.
He's amazing,
and he makes it look easy. And so I just sit there next to him, try to give my expert, analyst pat on, and just try to give the viewers an idea of the who and why and what's going on out there. And it's been good. It's been good. So nice. I've really enjoyed that.
That's cool.
Did part of your education prepare you for that, or Was it just something that all of your basketball knowledge,
Both.
Both?
But majority of my, I like I told you before, after my playing years, I coached for 14 years. I was with Coach Olson 2 years. I was the head coach in the NBA Development League, or G League, for 2 years, and then I did 6 years as the head coach in Japan, where I was the coach of the year over there. 1 year I won a championship. So I have about 650 games as a head coach.
Oh wow!
And so just the ability to put that hat on and to put that lens on when I'm watching a game, it's easy for me to talk about basketball, and I enjoy it. It's a passion of mine. So to talk about basketball and talk about the Cats, it's a win-win.
Just comes easy for you. So there's some, what was I going to say? There's some excitement for the upcoming football season. Can you tell us a little bit about the new football staff?
Yeah, Brent Brennan. It's the Brent Brennan era, and if you haven't had a chance to meet him yet, you're going to love him. He has Tucson roots. His brother played here at the U of A. His wife went to the U of A. She's a Wildcat, and it feels like Brent's a Wildcat, even though he went to UCLA. In actuality, he is. Yeah. And he's just a genuine guy. His feet are on the ground. You could tell he puts his head down every day, and he's working hard. From what I'm hearing from the players, they're responding and respect him, and so we're super excited that Brent's here. He's got a great staff. He's brought Dino Barber, who has tons of head coaching experience on. Dwayne Aquina is staying in the house. Which is huge, not only for the team but for the players. Bobby Wade's back in the house, and so and then more importantly, the guys on the field. You got Noah and T-Mac, maybe the best quarterback wide receiver combo in the country. So it's an exciting time recruiting wise. We've done well. Transfer portal, I think we're doing well there as well, so too, and we're going into the Big 12. Really with our eyes set on the top. So, so everybody should be really excited. August 31st, everybody,
August
NAU.
31st.
All right, get your tickets, pack the place, support this team, support this coach, and I think they'll reward us for it.
And speaking of get your tickets, what does that process look like for people? I guess not only for football, but all the different areas that you're connected with. Yeah, great question. I think we have 9 season ticketed sports: football, basketball, men's and women's, volleyball. And if you obviously go ArizonaWildcat.com, that's our webpage. You can find some information there. Football, from what I'm hearing, we're already setting a near record in terms of season tickets sold. Wow. But having said that, there's still plenty of seats, plenty of good seats. So call down to the U of A, 621-2287, 621-CATS. There'll be a young man or woman who'll be able to help you there and find you some good seats. We still have some of our premium areas are still available, and so I definitely would do that. Basketball, just really quick, it's the same deal. You can call down to the school, and there's still some good seats available. And I know it's been over the years, people think, oh man, it's sold out, I can't get in the building, but there are seats available. It's another way to support the program. So get out there, and I'm sure Adia and John Court, the gymnastics coach, and tennis, they would love to see you guys there at their events.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Support Arizona athletics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Reggie. Thank you for coming on and sharing this with us.
Yeah, no, Ron, Pastor John, anytime, man. I appreciate you guys having me. Anytime we're talking about Wildcats in the community and doing good things like you guys are doing, it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to thank our sponsors again: Tucson Tamale, Crest Insurance, Tucson Pack and Ship, and Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Yeah, this has been The Guys Next Door, brought to you by Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing. I'm Pastor John with Veteran Rescue Mission, here with the coolest guy in Tucson, Mr. Ron Arenas, as he reminds us regularly, change your filter.
That's right, change that air filter.
Yeah, especially this time of year, it's going to get hot. One thing we're going to be probably talking about on our podcast next Wednesday, we want you to tune in, is the change in the heat. You need to start drinking more water, start considering that stuff. But also go to our YouTube page, go to our Facebook page. Ron made me get a TikTok, so go to our TikTok page and check out all the stuff about the guys next door and the way that we're promoting all the amazing men in our community. And we'll see you next week.